Hi, welcome to another episode of Tim's Tips, where I go about doing my hobbies and my chores and my projects and bring you along with me and share my tips. And you share your tips below because we all learn, baby. This episode is simple. How to control your growing vines and things that grow and climb. Sun and rain and sun and rain. The springtime coming into summer here in New Zealand, everything is booming and growing and flourishing, which is exciting, but also means you need to stay on top of the pruning and shaping, support these plants as they grow, especially as they come into their fruiting season. One thing about nature, when left unchecked, it goes wild, goes crazy. So we just need to do a little tactical bit of this, bit of that, and we're away laughing. So a bit of context for my property. It was about mid-2020, after the first round of pandemic. I spent a lot of time at home and I was like, jeepers, I need to work on my property. I can develop and build some privacy and some more green screens and get some fruit action happening. Here are some quick images of what it was, now what it looks like. Got a variety of trellises, connected them to the existing fences, support beams to really help increase the size, height, privacy. Let me give you a quick tour so you know what we're dealing with. We built a fence, then it came to the existing fence, but we wanted to add some trellises across that top there where you can see all the way along like so. And that gives us the ability to not look into their bedroom window and them not look at us. And we're going to eventually put a plant here. Don't worry about this mess here, we're going to sort that out. You can see the extension poles, you can see these dudes. Whoa, 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 whoa. All the way along, all the way along. Oh yeah, and even down the other side of the property. Just to give us a visibility so we're not looking into each other's deck spaces, especially where we hang our laundry. Excuse me, don't look at that. Classic purple passion fruit. And he's currently doing a wonderful job of giving us a screen of visual protection as well as just a little bit of privacy and fruitage from the neighbours, their garage, and just, you know, making life just that little bit nicer. But I'm not here to talk about trellises. Besides, somebody has to maintain the background for ethically Kate's photographs. Behind the scenes. So let's get stuck in. So to help with the pruning and the trimming and the controlling, you're gonna need a few things. I would recommend you have a big bucket, a couple handles lighter this guy, for the trimmings and clippings. You're gonna need yourself some secateurs. Me, I use some scissors, lots of twine or string, and a pencil for good measure. And a few of you have actually made comment on this little beastie from my other videos. This is a garden belt. Kind of like a tool belt, but for the garden or hobbies. This is handmade in Tauranga, made by Marco, and the brand is Crafty Gatherer. Honestly, it's revolutionized my pottering and hobbying. Well worth the investment, and Kate got it for me for my birthday, so shaka shaka. Makes me feel like the Han Solo of gardening. And it also allows me to have my different knives on the back of the belt as well. Support local people. And I also have a fold-out stool just to help me get to those high spots. Tim's tip. Be prepared, carry everything that you will need for this project with you. I've already spent hours and weekends, and I'll show you some of the work I've already done. But I've tied that vine to the trellis. I have done that all the way along, probably 60 to 70 times on this vine alone. I tie them together, I pin them up. It helps everything stay structurally connected. And without doing that, you're simply relying on its own little tendrils to attach to things. Big storms, I don't know if I trust it. I don't want to just allow it to grow wherever it naturally wants to grow. I want to be the one in charge. I want to control it, focus it, aim it, pin it, and attach it. So my goal for today is to use this extra growth, this stuff here that's just sprung out lately, trim it, and then pin it to the trellis, particularly covering the areas where it's got some bald patches. The goal is to have 100% coverage. Once I get to the stage where I have 100% coverage, my role is going to be less about pinning. It's going to be more just about the trimming, and then it'll be maintenance. Today is not about that. So I get my string out. You could probably use anything. And I take about a big arm length's worth, cut it, store the excess, and then honestly just drape this around my neck like a necklace or a scarf. And then I keep these guys handy, and then I just swap off the little bits I need as I go. And then when I run out of this, I just add more. Here's something I've learned. I always thought you had to be super gentle with all of these vines, and you do, because if you damage the tip where they're growing, it will damage their growth. But this is a matted mess of dreadlock right now, and so I'm gonna have to be quite rough with it and pull it apart. Tip, use your scissors. So you've got the main vine, and then you've got the little tendrils that grow off and attach to things, and they get all connected to each other, and then those are the things you have to trim to then separate them. Tip, you do not want to damage the main stalk of the vine. Don't do that one. So I actually knew I was going to be filming this video, and so I allowed it to grow out over the last couple of weeks. But normally I would have stayed on top of it, done little bits as I saw it. It's actually a bit more to manage now than I wanted, which is a bit of a pain in the butt, but we'll get there. So I've untangled a lot of it. Now I just have to choose who I want to keep, who I want to cut, and where I want to pin it. So I get my scissors, get my string scarf, and you don't want to chop too short, because I have to be able to thread it through, poke it around, get the scissors through, hold it with the scissors and pull it through the other side, kind of like you're making a suture or a stitch, and then you get the extra wings of that and tie it together around the vine, and that's how you attach it, that's how I attach it to the trellis. So let me show you. I need about that much, probably a good 5 inches perhaps, maybe 4. You can't really see this right now, but you poke it through, and I just do a double granny knot. This bit here is a bit too dense to show you really nicely how I thread it through and tie it up, so this one I'm just going to do a quick time lapse. It's too hard to show you. And then on the other passion fruit vine, I'll get into more detail with tips on how to use this properly. Enjoy the time lapse. Alright, check this out. So that's much tidier, much more pinned back. There's a little bit more covered up in the bald areas. So this particular vine actually acts like a weed. It grows aggressively, pops up through the lawn, through the garden bed, and also is just abundant everywhere it goes. Its most frustrating niggle is that it actually strangles surrounding trees. This lovely tree here used to be completely covered and it wrapped around, and I had to operate and take it off. And that's when I actually ended up training him and pinning him sideways. Gave him a purpose, gave him a clear goal. But because it's growth season again, behind this tree you can see little tendrils growing out and starting to wrap around him again. And we do not want that, and it's doing it to all of the trees down this whole side of the fence. Let me quickly show you, and then I'm gonna hack him back. Growing, growing, growing. Oh, wrapping around the tree and pulling it in, strangling it very, very soon. Not good. My lemon tree is currently entangled. Then my beautiful peach tree is in jeopardy. Time for it to go. Whew, she's humid here today. What I've done is I've just trimmed all the way down behind all the trees, down that whole part of the fence line. But I told you that I was going to be snipping and cutting and attaching with the string. However, that is what I did at the very beginning, establishing this. I'm now personally at the stage where I have mature vines that go down, so I can get their new off-growths to weave back in and around themselves. I'm kind of like plaiting them back into their own themselves. Once I know I've already pegged them to the fence. So that means I didn't have to use as much string, and it means I didn't have to chop as much off. I spent a lot more time weaving it. But where it was a denser space, where I had it already fully covered through, that's where I hacked it back. And if it was reaching out to a tree, I took it off. Down here is just a little bit different. I don't need it so much for visibility, it's more just about consistency. I'm kind of sick of having all these leaves, all these guys here, just dropping down here onto my workbench or when I'm trying to prepare food and things for the fire. So I've given him his top part of prune, but I actually think I'm going to remove from here to here all the way along, just to simplify my life. I don't have time for this admin all the time. All along the base here I've taken out and tied it up along here. Nice one. Mulch a whole bunch of garden of clippings, my father-in-law's mulcher. Then into my new compost. How about that? Look at all that. Oh yeah, choice. So now I'm going to climb up my little ladder and I'm going to pin these guys going off in their wayward directions to the fence, to the trellis, and make them work for me. Alright, so this is where I'm going to show you how to do the tying part. Tim's tips. Here we go. Get your vine and you want to make it run laterally. So I don't like mine going zigzagging up and down. I try to have them running a tramway. But I don't want to tie too close to the end where he's weak and still growing, quite juvenile. You want to come back here where it's a little more hearty and can withstand some string. Once I've picked my spot, I push my string through the trellis, but my fingers are too fat to be able to get through the trellis. So I get these suckers back out and use them as pincers. I'm not even going to cut through, I'm just going to gently grab them. Just pulled him through, so I've got double through. Then I simply do a granny knot, the first part of tying your shoelace. Pull it tight. That's what you've got there. Top tip, I usually do the knot just behind the leaf sprouting out, so if it pulls back, he can't come through. And I just do that for all of these, all the way down there and all the way through there. Time for another time lapse. It's about to start raining, so I'm gonna just quickly do a little bit more and then I'm gonna go inside. I bet you get the idea, you get what I'm working on. Hopefully you're growing something and hopefully it's doing what you want it to do against the fence you want it to be against. If not, it might just take a little bit of string, a little bit of training, a little bit of deliberate pruning and snipping. Don't forget, if you make a mistake, whacking off too much, there's always next season. It'll grow back. We're gonna play the long game at these things. I haven't even mentioned talking about any of the spraying or maintenance or fertilization of these vines. That might be for another video. Much tidier. If you have any tips that you think I missed or you'd like to add, or a different perspective, or Tim, don't do that, you should be doing this, let me and everybody else who reads the comments know below. Ask questions below as well. There's a lot of really clever people reading these comment sections and they'll be jumping in and answering, and I can jump in and answer the best that I can as well. I really want to see this little community of knowledge sharing happen down below. So do get involved, do give it a read, and do enjoy it. Back to you guys. Tune in next time.